This is the first episode. I'm not even like gonna call this yet. Like probably engineer's notes or something like that. But something that isn't too like cringy because
Yeah.
I wouldn't watch that if it was something.
Mate, I made like a full-on intro, and I couldn't get it out because it just made me cringe that much. Now I don't fucking bother. I just start with, "Do you want to introduce yourself?"
Yeah.
And then we edit me out saying, "Do you want to introduce yourself?" And it just starts with the person.
I mean, do you want to introduce yourself then?
Yeah, Tom Flude, co-founder of a tech startup called Engineers Insight. So I was an engineer a while ago. Not a very good one, so I ended up in sales instead. And whilst I was working for one of the big robot brands, seeing a gap in the market for digital, I suppose. So we're all heavily reliant on print,
Mhm.
which has its place.
Yeah.
But the really ship's aging, same as manufacturing workforce is aging. So how do you reach younger people? So we created a free mobile app
Yeah.
for that purpose.
Belter. Well, obviously this conversation's kind of come about because I'm trying to help younger people get into that workforce. Obviously, you need that sort of representation because in order for you to work, you need to get out as much people as possible. And I don't want this to be like a really formal interview, so it's kind of I'll pick up the main points. Obviously, explain what the app does. But and you've actually also covered the fact of why you wanted to go for it. But in terms of you being previously been an engineer, do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how you got into that sort of thing?
Yeah. My grandparents owned a machine tool fitting company in country. So my dad and uncle worked for them their whole life, engineers, always stunk of oil, wore overalls every day. And I suppose I always thought I would be an engineer, but maybe in the family business or I don't know. Um, but I remember them telling me to not be a mechanical engineer, be an electrical engineer, because that's where the money is. And I don't know if they were just saying that because they were mechanical engineers and they thought they weren't making enough money. But honestly, I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I left school at year 11, didn't want to do A levels.
Yeah.
A lot of my mates did do A levels. And I was working for RS Components in the Neatham. So
Oh, yeah.
picking and packing orders, putting it in boxes, shipping it out. And I suppose to fill the gap, I just went to college and I did an engineering course. I did a BTEC level 3. Probably because my parents were on to me about doing some sort of education. So I did that for 2 years whilst working every evening at RS.
Yeah.
And then I thought, nah, stuff this. I'm going to go to Tenerife and work behind a bar.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
So me and my mates had always got out to Tenerife. One of my closest friends, my business partner now, his grandparents lived in Tenerife as long as I've known him. So we've all gone out there. And I thought, I don't know how old I was, 18, 19, stuff real life, work behind a bar, live in the sun, drink beer, meet
Yeah.
girls.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, parents weren't too happy about it. I've been out, looked at an apartment. We had some friend over there that I sort of kept in touch with over years. So we were going to live together. And then leading up to me actually pulling the trigger and doing it, my godfather worked for Schneider Electric.
Yeah.
And he said one day, we're going to take on apprentices at Coventry. Why don't you come round and I'll show you a demo kit? So I didn't know anything about automation.
Yeah.
And he opened this demo kit and there was a couple of servo motors spinning, some discs and some flashing lights and a little PLC. I thought, actually, that's fucking cool. So I went, got the apprenticeship, and then that's how I got in.
Yeah.
I suppose accidental, I suppose a little bit of family sort of
Guidance, yeah, a bit of guidance into it. Well, mine was probably sort of similar, like the kind of overbearing parents saying, you know, you need to do something with your life. I, again, tried A levels, I did my AS levels, and basically I did all right in them, but I was just like, this isn't for me. I'm not an exam person. I think they're pretty useless, to be honest, because at the end of the day, all an exam shows is you, that person that can remember the information, regurgitate it at a given point without any help. When in reality, you have access to the internet like right now I do, and it encourages you not to ask for help. And obviously, you can ask everyone for help, like asking you for help and all this sort of things. But for me, engineering was always one of those things that for me, I didn't really enjoy education. And when it was shown to me that there's like a practical aspect, you can learn, you can do this on the job, I was like, that'll be right up my street. And then I went down the application process, and it was like, oh, well, what type of engineer do you want to be? And in school, like, I was never the brain box. I was never the sharpest tool in the shed, as you'd say. But I'd get to the point where we did electronic product design and did that, and it clicked. People were asking me for help rather than the other way around. And it was like, okay, maybe this is what I'm good at. And had it in uni as well. I was definitely the sharpest tool in the shed, because obviously all the people that were on my degree course, I did an apprenticeship, were all from other companies in the area, and they were the ones that had like the top of their A levels. And then it was like me versus them, and in anything bar like CAD or the electronics, I was like chasing behind all the times. So
I even at college. So when I went to Schneider, they paid for me to do a HNC. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Really, I mean, I was always in the top 1 or 2 sets through school. So my basics was good. English, maths, science, okay.
yeah,
CB sort of level GCSEs. College, it was literally copying off a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Or copying someone else's coursework. There's no exams in any of my education.
Yeah.
And actually I learned more through the apprenticeship, because I was fortunate that someone in the team took me under their wing, and just showed me what variable speed drives were. And then I, over time, became the VSD application engineer. I could have been anything really, but like the other guy that they took on as apprentice, he was a lot more academic than me. So he was going to be PLC guy. And I've never been, like, even now, I'm a founder of a tech company, I know nothing. Like, my co-founder builds it all. I just
Give them the credits out now.
shout about it.
Yeah, the face of the company.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when I talk to younger people, it's always,
Yeah.
you can get an apprenticeship, go down that route.
Yeah, and I think a lot of companies now don't really push for that. And a lot of students I've spoken to, they don't know it's an option for even their industry. Because to this point, even to this day, a lot of people think when you say engineer, it's just a fellow with a wrench.
Yeah, yeah.
And as you say, covered in oil. And that's, as people like to tell me, my lovely trimmed girly hands, I've got no mother under my nails, that sort of thing. Get some finger strain typing on a keyboard. But when I was younger, I did my time on the shop floor because I got a grilling. Because now, whenever I do my drawings, I do it from the perspective of someone who's going to have to wire it up. Because that means that when it gets to them, I'll make it as easy as possible, because at the end of the day, no one wants to sit and wire something that has been done by someone who knows the theory, but not actually the practical application of it. But I was going to say, so in terms of launching the Engineers Insight, what are the biggest problems you sort of faced? Because I'm sort of currently my biggest problems are getting the engagement. People, there's obviously a market for it because people have spoken to me, they want to know about it, but getting people involved and over the point of, being afraid of asking questions, because as much as you talk, there are no stupid questions, people would still feel like they're looked down on for certain questions. And I always did, because when I was behind, I didn't want to put my hand up and say, oh, I don't really understand this, when everyone else is writing away. But yeah, so what were the biggest things you really faced then?
The people watching this, do they know what you do?
So the people watching this today, will, I'd assume, know what I'm doing, but if they didn't know what I was doing, so I've launched the engineering compass. I get my words out here. And basically it's designed to essentially help students and, just start engineers in finding the jobs that they want to find, and also helping them get the skills before they start the job. Because realistically, it's never great when you go into an interview and you kind of go in and saying, I've got part of the skills they put on the job application, but I'm going to have to work up to that, and I may not get the job because of that. So for me, throughout my, nearly 7 years in engineering now, I've done so many courses that are accessible to the public, but no one knows about. So the idea is that people sit down with myself, we will completely revamp your CV, cover letters, we'll do interview prep with you, and then We'll also put you onto the right courses that will help you essentially be the ideal candidate. And as this develops, I'm speaking to more and more companies, and we're achieving their ideal CVs because they send us the CV to start with. We then take that and tailor the student that's looking for a job outside company to that CV. So when they turn up, it's less of let's check the CV and more of what's the person like. Because I know a lot of people who, on the surface, being a student, don't have much to show in terms of experience, but in the short term, they are people that are really switched on. They've got something to add to that company, whether it's technical ability or physical ability or anything they want to put forward. It's just something that companies don't get a look at if they don't get past that point of the CV.
Okay. So your question was,
The question was, what were your biggest struggles when launches?
I think you were going with engagement first, right?
Yeah.
So the reason I asked that is because you need a compelling story.
Yeah.
So what I would do is clip this up with saying that.
Yeah.
I'd put it on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and I would clip it multiple times. Don't worry about posting it the same thing multiple times.
Mhm.
Change the thumbnail. So put it on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
1 week. Put it on LinkedIn the next week with a different thumbnail, maybe a different hook to start with.
Yeah.
Different subtitles.
Mhm.
Because it's content is key.
Yeah.
And you're already doing it. You're doing it well. You should need to do more of it. Same as me. I'm already aware that I'm not doing enough of it, and I've got 3 students doing mine.
Yeah.
Plus, I've been in your position trying to do it on my own as well. So there's plenty of Engineers Insight content out there.
Yeah.
But I know it's nowhere near enough. There's a guy that I follow called Alex Hormozy.
Yeah. Yeah. I know who he is. Yeah.
Big gym dude that's made millions
Through sales. Yeah. He's a big sales guy.
Yeah, but he always goes back to content of do more, then do better,
Mhm.
and then try something else.
Yeah.
So stay with the thing you're already doing and just hammer it out as much as possible. And then you can incrementally improve everything. So you can test thumbnails, you can A/B test. So we do it with our podcast.
Yeah.
So I'll make multiple versions of the thumbnail, and I'll make multiple versions of the ads that run, and I'll see which one gets the best open rate, view rate.
Yeah.
And then that's what we actually run with.
Mhm.
So them tests could be like a $5 each. You get enough results to know that 200 people. So like the differences between view rates, like the one that's out at the minute, no, the one that's just been out at episode 20 was like a huge disparity between us focusing on engineers to view it and us focusing on general public to view it. Like one was 14% view rate, one was 39%.
Yeah.
So then you know that you push the rest of the budget into
that sort of area. Yeah. I mean, I think you've answered kind of the next question, which was going to be, what, and you obviously had this idea, you started putting it together. What actually validated to you a sort of milestone that said, right, this is something I want to do?
customers.
Those customers, yeah.
Yeah, because Engineers Insight has been years in the making. So the original idea was 2018. We incorporated the company in 2019. We started putting wireframes together. And I was still employed. So I was going to my customers, engineers on shop floors with the wireframe saying, this is what we think it should do.
Yeah.
What do you want it to do? All singing, all dancing. What do you need for you to be using it regularly?
Yeah.
So we were building up feedback on one side of the market. And then I had to take the plunge into speaking to people like Siemens, Fargo, Verma, SMC. They were like really early KUKA, to be like, right, I've got this idea. I've got feedback from a very, very small part of the market, only like 20, 30 engineers on shop floors.
Yeah.
But they're all people that these people valued their opinion. Would you be interested? Yeah, we signed up the first 2 for free. And then I was on a call with Siemens and they said, well, if you give it us for free, then it'll just disappear in the to-do list. Charge us £1,000. I was like,
Yeah, that's about that. You're biting at that point, aren't you? Like, oh, hello.
yeah. And so I'd charge them £1,000. And I didn't look back. Every single conversation afterwards, £1,000. No one batted an eyelid. Because of course their marketing budget, £1,000 disappears in it. But I just needed the validation from that side of the market that they were interested. And then there was back and forth for I mean, I didn't actually leave my job until November 22.
Okay.
So it shows that the the road to get from idea to market
It's about 4
is
years.
4 years.
Yeah. I've still got time then.
You've got plenty of time. There's no rush.
Yeah.
But I know what it's like. You're in it.
Mhm.
You want it to be tomorrow. I'm still that now.
Mhm.
Um, but we've had conversations off camera about like people noticing me on LinkedIn and stuff. Yeah, great for vanity or ego. But they're not paying me.
Yeah, exactly. That's
It's like I'm still chasing the success of being in the market, people coming to us. It's not cold outbound anymore. It's conversations, it's network.
Yeah.
People know what I'm doing, they want to be involved in it.
Mhm.
That's the next step that I'm chasing.
So for you then, obviously you're at the point now where this is your full-time job.
Yep.
What is the next step for you? So obviously as you're progressing, you're growing, what would the next big milestone be for you then?
So we've got two sides of the market. One is partners, customers, so the Siemens of the world, the big OEMs, manufacturers. The other side is engineers, mechanical and electrical, doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter what industry. They're just engineers that want access to industry on their phone.
Yeah.
That's who we're trying to target. Any age range really, likely to be 16 to 40. They're used to social media.
Mhm.
Everything in their life is newsfeed scrollable, same as engineers inside.
Yeah.
The next big step is how do we get to 10,000 of them using it? So as of recording, we're at 2,300.
Okay.
Which I keep saying to people, it is enough to say we've proven the concept, and that the early adopters of my customers were right to invest in it. But it's not enough to completely disrupt the market and to be the go-to platform, which is what we want to create. We want to create this central platform for UK and Ireland manufacturing.
Yeah.
So everything that someone from 16 doing a college course through to 70 retiring can find some value in it.
Yeah.
So either they scroll through just to keep updated, or they need a manual or a CAD file. They want to be push notified on their favorite brands, what products are being launched. You can now apply for jobs. So is it career development?
Yeah.
The next big one that we'll launch this year is training. So a central platform that an engineer can then buy a Siemens PLC course in May, KUKA robot course in June,
Yeah.
health safety course in December, raise one PO to us, and we distribute their information around what the training providers. Because our ethos is that everything should be in one place and accessible. And right now it's not. So just for an engineer to know about what's going on in the market, they've got to be across multiple websites, across multiple magazines. It's not sustainable, especially for a young person coming in.
That jump in there then. So you've just said about magazines and that sort of things. For most companies now, they rely on a website, or as you say, they pay for ads in a magazine. What made you shy away from that and just jump straight to an app?
I wasn't reading magazines.
Yeah.
And like, if you ask my 3 students, I'm old. They put a Snapchat up of me
Yeah.
this week, knowing that I don't have Snapchat anymore because I felt like I was too old for it. And show me, and the caption was, "When your boss is a millennial." Oh. I thought I was still fucking young and cool. Obviously not.
But you think you're young and cool, and they thought you were fighting dinosaurs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. What was it? Where were we? What was the question?
The question was, why did you go for an app instead of website or magazine or the typical ways of
The
marketing?
publishers already had websites.
Mhm.
We needed something different.
Yeah.
We needed to stand out, and we needed to reach a young audience.
Yeah.
And I was using apps for everything. The generations coming in now use apps for everything.
Yeah.
And everyone uses their phone.
Yeah.
Everything's scrollable newsfeed. Everything's quick access. Everyone wants to click a button and have it in front of them. And everyone's attention span's shorter than it has been.
It's all about now, isn't it? It's not, I don't want to wait for the next magazine to come out to find out. I want to be able to go on my phone now, click on something now and get access to it now.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day as well, with manufacturing, it's all about, well, for me, and it would be for you when you were an engineer, it's about when's it being done. It's not oh, we'll wait a few weeks. In most cases, sometimes you have to, but it's the shortest lead time possible to get that thing done.
Yep.
And especially
if you've got a head in the panel and you want to know information,
yeah,
you need it.
and chances are, as much as we probably shouldn't, you have access to your phone or a computer that's within 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Especially with your head in the panel, if the last thing you want to do is step away from that panel because someone will stick a finger in it. And as much as I remember the first time I stuck my finger in a panel without realizing it was live, and I can say to anyone that hasn't done it, you can taste it. So it's like putting a bar of metal in your mouth and licking it. And trust me, once you've done it once, you're very cautious about doing it again. I'll tell you that. Obviously, you've made the change from engineer to entrepreneur. We'll call it as it's a big name. So if someone was looking to do that, what would your advice be?
From engineer to
entrepreneur.
network.
Network. Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest help I've had is network. Things like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So even if you don't want to do that, the young people that watch it, your audience that are watching it, set up a LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
And I say it to colleges and university classes that I give, is that set up your profile. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, with a decent image of you.
Yeah.
Not gun fingers in a car.
Yeah.
Like one of my students had.
Oh, right. Okay.
On yeah. And use the search and connect with people. So press the search, press enter, don't wait a minute, press enter, press people, and then find connections. You could search job titles. So if you want to be a controls engineer, search controls engineer.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to be picky, you can look at the pictures and think, oh, they're similar age to me, I'll connect with them.
Yeah.
Build a network of people that over time you start posting and they start engaging in your stuff. And, you know, like we said earlier about expecting things tomorrow, I'm 5 years on from when I knew that I was going to do this. So I've been very strategic about LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many, probably less than 10,000 followers. I think it'd be even less than that. Yeah. 5,000 followers 5 years ago. Now I'm at 18 because I was targeting people that I want to see my content that somewhere down the line will download Engineers Insider.
Yeah.
Because they've seen the brand, the logo, the walkthrough videos, the interviews. They've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times that they get into the top of my funnel and hopefully come down to press install on the App Store. So there's you don't have to have that specific outcome in mind.
Yeah.
But it's important that you build up a network and people are aware of you.
Yeah.
And then job opportunities will come to you as well.
Yeah.
If you don't want to found your own company, recruiters use LinkedIn every day, constantly. And if you've got a decent resume, you don't even have to have a CV on your profile. They can look at your profile and think, well, he's been an electrical engineer, he's worked as a project manager, or he's worked for the brands that are interested or the right industries that I'm interested in hiring for. And they'll reach out to you. I want to know about your business.
Yeah. So for me, my business has kind of come from the fact that when I was younger, I didn't really have that help. Obviously, if your parents for CVs, they do it how they perceive a CV should be done. And if they're not in the same industry as you, that can vary a little bit. And one thing that I never realized with my CV is I was putting it into different places, but tailoring the CV to look like what the business wants is a big thing. Like you could have all the skill sets, but if that skill set's now down the bottom and they skim through it and they go, oh, I'm not going to read that. They look at your name, your experience and your key skills, for example. If your main point, say you're going for, from in my case, electrical engineer's job, and you've done a course in AutoCAD, you don't know that company may use AutoCAD. That may be a big thing that they're looking for, but if you don't tell them that, or it's at the bottom of that list, they might miss it. And it's things like that that I don't think people realize they need to put in there. The same with cover letters. Everything has to be tailored to that initial job advert. And as much as this is something I'm developing in the background, it obviously takes a lot of time and effort. And I've created things like some ebooks. And at the moment, I'm trying to get as many people into this Discord community I'm created. So I've created it purely for the reason to have people that are all like-minded, because as much as TikTok kind of gets out to the masses, the people who actually want to see it or ask questions, it may not reach them.
Yeah.
Because chances are when you scroll on TikTok, I mean, you probably do it and I probably do it. I don't stop to watch educational content because I'm kind of half asleep or laid in bed and you're just flicking through every meme that you've looked at. And it's a good platform because it'll push it to a select amount of people, but until that engagement comes in. The big thing for me at the moment is finding ways of, as much as I don't want to talk about it, is monetizing. And that was kind of,
What do you want to talk about?
yeah, because I think when you talk about money with anybody, I know it happens with me, you get to a certain point and people switch off because in their mind, what I do, they can do themselves. And to an extent you can, but what do I actually monetize and what do I bring to the table? And that's the reason, as much as money is a touchy subject that needs to be spoken about. I mean, in your case, you've obviously spoken a little bit about how you monetized yours, but it's more how I go about it. Like, because people look at it and go, well, why is he charging for that sort of thing?
Yeah, but 2 points to make. One is that if you don't mention price, they switch off anyway.
Yeah.
Because they'll just see it as free content and it's not meaningful to them. So maybe they like it, follow you, or in it, and then never engage or press the contact button because they don't know what the price is.
Yeah.
And there's a disconnect between them reaching out and asking for the price and you just giving it them. And then if you give it them, whatever that price is, they then might make that decision in real time.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's suitable or not. That's fine. You only want the people that want to engage anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just finding that market in itself where, you know, it's finding the people that want it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
my second point is that you need to make money. It's a business, you need to make money.
Yeah.
Ridiculous to say. And yes, I know your target market is probably students that don't have access to big funds. But if they don't buy in, then they're not actually going to take any content anyway.
Yeah.
So it's going to fall on deaf ears if you keep giving it for free. So there needs to be a piece where the next level of your content is actually, this is how you write your CV, and this is the job that you suit, and these are the skills that you need to get that job.
Yeah.
Well, that is worth whatever you say it's worth.
Yeah.
The market will dictate if it's too high or too low. But if you get too many customers to deal with, it's probably too low. If you're not getting any, it's probably too high.
Yeah.
We've gone through that exercise. We go through that regularly, and our pricing structure has gone up this similar rate to the user base. So first 500 users, we were at £1,000 for 10 products, and we've edged all the way up to now we're at 2,500 for 10 products.
Yeah.
So average of 250 quid a product. But I have in my pitch deck that when we hit 5,000 users, it'll be average £300 a product. So you're just going up that graph.
Yeah.
So slightly.
So supply demand sort of.
Supply demand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it'll be bigger increments as we grow. Like maybe 10 or 15,000 users will be the next up there.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to give it away for free, then there's no business.
Yeah. It's just, I think as much as you are correct, the element of the free, I like helping people. This is where it started. So it's trying to still keep an element of that whilst, you know, having the money coming in from the business to create better content. At the moment, I'm recording on my phone, but in order for people to watch, a lot of people use hire equipment or you have a studio or whatever. That's things I'd like to do, and you know, eventually bring people in to talk with people like yourself. Because it's all good and well me talking to you because I have my own questions, but if people want to watch this and then go, oh well, I had a question about not necessarily engineering, maybe it's your entrepreneurship, maybe it's the app, all that side of things. There's no reason why you can't start integrating people to come in and have a chat with yourself or, you know, a company that they like the look of, or even tours or really specific training. There's the possibilities are endless. But as you say, at the end of it, it all comes down to money because no one gets in the door without money.
Yeah. You can't do any of that for free.
No, you can't, because the businesses look at me now as, oh yeah, at some point we'll do that. They like the idea I've spoken to many businesses at this point where they go, it's a great idea, but it gets put at the bottom of the pile until you go, I can offer you something, whether that's money, students, or something future-wise that benefits them. And I think that's the bit that potentially some people don't understand when it comes to pricing, because
So what's stopping you putting out your next video saying that for this service it costs £50?
there's nothing. That may as well be the next one, and just because I think you've said, it may alienate some people, but it may also enlighten some people, because the one thing that I hated is that when you go to do something, there's these smoke and mirrors and they go, oh yeah, this is this, and you get there and they go, it's going to be £5,000.
Yeah.
And immediately you're just like, well,
You go through a website and you've gone through all the services they've listed,
Mhm.
and then there's a contact form at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I can't bother.
Yeah, it's all about that, as we said before, that immediate engagement. Like if you can do it immediately, that's right. I'm now in the mindset to do this. I'll pay for it now.
Seen a post on Facebook a couple of weeks ago.
You're showing your age there, mate.
Someone that was looking for, I can't remember, it was like a plaster or something.
Yeah.
Put a picture of the room that they needed plastering.
Mhm.
And it, as always on Facebook, you get loads and loads of local people that are like either plasterers or people that are recommending people.
Yeah.
There was one person out of the 30, 40 comments that said, I can do that in the next X amount of weeks and it costs this. And someone actually made a comment saying, isn't it funny that out of all the plastering companies that have replied, only one has actually told you a price? It builds trust.
Yeah, it removes the smoke and mirrors, doesn't it?
Yeah, you remove the smoke and mirrors and you think, I've got to contact them other 20 people that have said that they can do it. And then I've got to get all the quotes in and work out from meeting them for 20 minutes looking at the room, do I trust them?
Yeah. Yeah.
And whereas that person that said it's 300 quid, can I afford 300 quid? Can I look on their profile and see that they've done a good job at somewhere else and it's 300 quid?
Yeah. And also, because I've not seen anyone doing this, there's no comparison. And for me, that was the reason I've gone, this is needed.
Yeah.
Um,
It's good because then you can dictate the price.
yeah, you can. But then also it's finding that balance where it funds me enough to move on to the next thing, the next big milestone, whatever that is, but also doesn't alienate people. So, I mean, it's not so. I mean, I can talk about it now. So, to the services that I offer, so I do full CV review, and this is something that currently is partly done for free. So the template itself will always be free, because if you go on the internet, it's easily findable. I don't think people should have to pay for a template. I don't think that's worth it in the end. The bit that I charge for is tailoring your CV and pulling out stuff that you potentially didn't even know you had. I've done it with a couple of people now and they've gone, oh, I didn't even think of it as that as a skill. It's all about tailoring the skills that you have and wording them as such that they tick that box, that keyword in that, whether it's a person reading it or a system reading it, they go, okay, I'm looking for that keyword. It's selection different keywords. Like for me, my LinkedIn is now tailored and set up so that there's as much about electrical engineering that is possible. So I get LinkedIn recruiters reach out to me all times because they go, I'm looking for electrical engineer, and my name comes up. It's that. So we do that, and then we do obviously the cover letter thing comes with the CV thing. We do a full interview prep. So one of the other students, his name's Khaled. We've actually done a smaller video on himself, and he we sat with him for, I sat with him for an hour, and chances are you know what you can say in that interview. But if it's your first or your second, you get that stress, don't you? You get into that interview room, it's now all this pressure, and the answers that you prepped come out as the stutter. And I've been there. I've literally practiced the answers and gone, I'll be fine. I'll smash it. As soon as someone asks you the question but words it slightly differently, you panic.
Yeah, it throws you off.
And you go from that confident state to the state where you start answering like a robot. So we could sit here and I could ask you a question and you could answer specifically of a prepped answer. No, I don't care. All of a sudden, you've gone from a person to just another name in that sheet. So, and then obviously, we're now looking at putting together job packages. So for me personally, I had a selection of different places that I'd look. I'm looking to reach out to those places and say, we want to put forward a certain amount of students that are interested in these jobs. Can you give us those CVs and essentially tailor you to that job? But also, my expertise, I don't want someone to make the same mistakes that I did, because I got rejected from multiple jobs before I got the one that essentially gave me my career. Because if I'd never got my apprenticeship, I wouldn't have got my degree, and I wouldn't have been able to essentially dictate, one, how much I'm paid now, two, where I want to work, and three, how long I want to work in these places. Because as you will have known, there is a demand for engineers. People want them.
Yep. I delivered 6 engineering classes with Yaskawa last Monday at Loughborough College, and it was like, why we use robots, whether we use them and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I said the same thing to all 6 classes, is that there's never been a better time to be a student coming into manufacturing.
Yeah.
Because every single manufacturer is desperate for young talent. So if you could get your head down over these next few years, get your qualification, get as much hands-on, touch, interaction, build a network as possible,
Yeah.
there's no reason why you can't come into industry on 30 to 50. And in 5 to 10 years' time, there's no reason why you can't be on 100K a year.
Yeah.
And you can see them all like look at each other like,
Yeah, you start from
the
big numbers.
one in my family has
Yeah.
ever made. It's true. Manufacturing pays 10% more than the average wage anyway.
Isn't it?
Now, the stat is that there's 60,000 open jobs at any one time in UK manufacturing. To fill the future skills gap, we need to train an extra 168,000 engineers a year.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
Yeah.
So the people that are on the courses now, or coming into the courses, or thinking about being an engineer, the opportunity is theirs to earn more money than anyone in their family makes.
And I think you're not wrong there, mate. But it's also, I think one of the key things you may have spoke about previously, but is the ability to stand out is not hard. It's just you have to be willing to put yourself out there. So for me, and for the likes of other students that I've spoken to, it's not about that regurgitated answer from the day. If you can do stuff before that interview, before you apply for a job, whether that's internships, good work experience, if you know there's a company down the road that you want to work for, what's stopping you finding someone on LinkedIn that works there, having a conversation with them, and whether it's them or the manager or maybe the CEO if it's a smaller company, what stops you from messaging them and saying, I'd love to come and see what you do?
Yeah.
And then if you want to work there, you go, oh, I came down a few weeks back. And you can even get referrals out of that. You can say to that person, I've been in, we've had a conversation, I really like what you do, it really interests me, is there any chance of... And you're already 10 steps ahead of the next person that comes in.
100%.
It's not hard, and this stuff is out there, and I feel like I'm just trying to give it to people. And obviously from my expertise, I say expertise, my shorter expertise than the guy that's been in the industry 40 years, I wouldn't listen to some... Realistically, it's hard. I don't want to word it in that sense, but it's harder for me if I'm sitting down and watch something. If I find someone that I find interesting, they may not have the same perspective because they've been in the industry so long as to what's relevant now. You'll find that whether your parents or my parents, the way that they went about applying for jobs is completely different. Either there's less saturation in the market, there's more jobs, or they just went straight to a place they knew they were going to get a job and they've been there the whole time.
Yeah. Once you're in manufacturing, you don't necessarily need to apply for jobs.
No, because you can work your way up.
A lot of recruiters will contact you.
You're telling me, yeah.
Yeah, for positions. You'll get headhunted after a while.
Yep. It's mad. And also a lot of companies now, because there's this demand, a question that I've been asked a lot now at this point is, if you're an electrical engineer, I'm an electrical engineer, if someone's an electrical installer, is there a path to being an engineer? If you've already got knowledge of the system of that company, you know how it goes together, you've read the drawings, they may not require that extra qualification. They may say, we'd love you to have you in the team. It is a big difference, a big step up in terms of what you need to know and how you have to conduct yourself, whether that's speaking to customers, learning new softwares. But it's not hard. You kind of just have to ask the question. And I think it's something that people don't really take into account. A lot of people have asked, but there's nothing that stops you. A lot of people are realizing, as you say, that the money's there. You just have to be willing to put yourself out to get it.
Yeah.
So, well, it'll be again slightly different when you were applying to when I was applying, or the people that are watching now applying. But if you had to go somewhere for an engineering job, if you were looking specific sites, obviously you've got your app, which is great. So if you didn't know, the app highlights specific jobs, and obviously it's regularly updated, so you kind of get the newest in the market.
Okay, it's currently locked to a couple of recruiters because we wanted to build it in partnership to know what to build.
Yeah.
Same as what we did with the partners in the early days of the app. So there's 20, 30, 40 jobs a week go in. Everything's keyworded, everything can be searched by distance, comma, postcode.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a lot less jobs than CV Library or LinkedIn and stuff like that. In the summer, we're going to go to market with it.
Yeah.
Still haven't worked out the commercials of that, but we'll go to market and then have more recruiters so it's regularly updated and then a lot of jobs. People like Manufacturers Hub.
Yeah, we spoke about them, yeah.
There are a lot. You could literally go on Google and search your area and search for recruiter.
Yeah.
Search engineering recruiter, and I bet there's 10. There are so many recruiters in the UK because there are so many jobs. There's 2.6 million people employed in UK manufacturing. They all need to be recruited at some point.
One thing I was going to say though is when it comes to recruiters, from my personal experience, I'd be careful before you commit to a job with them. Try and have a conversation with them, whether that's connect with them on LinkedIn, have a short conversation, tell what you're looking for. Because it's not all recruiters, but some recruiters, it's a numbers game. You'll get pushed into a crowd and that may not be what you want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my only advice when it comes to recruiters.
And that's where you could fit yourself in between.
Yeah, so that's sort of the place that I think is the gap, is that gap between student or starting engineer and the next company that they want to get to. So how do we fill that gap essentially? So for me, is helping that person get an insight into the job before they start it. So it's not 2 weeks in, they go, shit, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or this isn't what I want to do. Yep. It's also not cutting out recruiters, but cutting out the need to go to someone who potentially doesn't have your best interest at heart. I'm not saying that's obviously not the case for everyone. I'm planning on having a conversation with a recruiter and asking these sorts of questions because people want to know.
I got one on my podcast and I said, why do people hate recruiters? And he said very similar thing, is that for a lot of recruiters, you're a number and that they work up a high turnover of CVs and jobs, and they need to fill a gap, fill a position as quick as possible because that makes money, and then on to the next job.
Exactly.
But there are different recruiters. There's people that headhunt specifically for a role. And I think, I mean, I know that you're already onto this, but I think if you can support someone into, even if it goes through a recruiter still, but that the young person understands who the end user is, what they actually do, what the job means, because unless you've been in that job, you don't actually know what it means.
Yeah, exactly. I think you hit on the nail on the head there. So the community that I'm building, this Discord, the plan is through my connections is being able to allow students. So for example, if you want to be a mechanical engineer, I know so many. Have a conversation with them. I'll put you in contact with them. Have a conversation. Ask the question about the job. Is that what you want? Whether that's chemical engineering, mechanical engineering. There's so many different areas in engineering. Obviously, I'm quite niche in terms of just being an electrical engineer. But in my job, I have to do multiple areas because I can't just know what I know. I have to know what mechanical engineers are doing in order for my work to fit into that. And I think that's what some people don't realize, is that as much as they want to do one job, you're going to have to do 2, 3, 4, because depending on the size of the company that is. It's like if you go for a bigger company, personally, I found that larger companies, you'll do a very specific job, and that can become repetitive in a sense. You can end up getting caught in that cycle of same thing, same day. But when you could just
on that, I think people are also blinded that you have to work for the big end user. Don't worry about that because that will be very specific job roles.
Yeah.
If you can get in an SME when you're highly valued, because they really struggle for talent. JLR doesn't struggle for talent.
Just for people watching, what's an SME?
small medium enterprises. So that's anything from a unit that you'll drive past with a roller shutter door, and
Yeah.
there might be 3 employees, but you'd be 25% of the company if you joined.
Yeah.
And you'd be extremely valued. You'd have an arm around the shoulder, and people would support you. I'm not saying you wouldn't get that at a big manufacturer like Jaguar Land Rover or Rolls Royce or whoever, because you would, because they'd have a corporate structure.
Yeah.
They'd have an apprenticeship scheme, which is good, but the SME might not have that. But if you're at the big company, you're going to get shoehorned into one position. You're going to learn the same routine, the same technology. Whereas at an SME, you need to learn everything. And actually, if you are more open-minded, you're going to learn what the finance person does and what it means to actually sell a machine, and what a purchase order means and an invoice,
Yeah.
and what it means to be the managing director and how to run a business. And then you're going to be on the shop floor and you're going to learn how to put a panel together, or how the machine works, or how do we speak to the customer,
Yeah.
or when the customer comes in for fat test, how does that mean? What do we actually need to do?
Yeah, exactly. You're not wrong. I think those SMEs, as you refer to, they're great, because one thing that I learned pretty quick is your level of work will improve much quicker when you know that if you get it wrong, there's someone on that shop floor who will come and give you an absolute grilling about how shit it is, rather than sitting in an office that's separate from the manufacturing facility where you're just getting an email. I guess done a lot quicker as well. And I think getting that variation for me was a big thing, because if I'm sat in doing the same thing day in, day out, I'd lose the will to live. But I think one more thing in terms of the business, in terms of your business, what are the biggest risks that you personally took in getting your business going, or throughout the production of the business?
The same with every business. Finance is the issue, right? So we couldn't afford to just take the jump and do it.
Yeah.
So 2021, November 2021, I took a job at Cognex, big Houston company. We were paying, it was a sales job covering Midlands of Wales, and they pay commission.
Yeah.
So it was a standard base salary, but then there was a commission. So, and I didn't think we did it. I convinced my fiance at the time. We were renting our house out, moved back to my mum and dad's with the dog.
Yeah.
So we've got no outgoings, and I've got maximum that I could get from my experience as incomings.
Yeah.
So we could bank money.
Yeah.
And give ourselves a bit of a buffer. So that the idea was 12 months renting the house out. That turned into 18 months. We got married in the middle of that, and she got pregnant at the end of it. So suddenly it was like, we need our house back.
Yeah.
And then that was a real kick to be like, no, full throttle in the business.
Yeah.
We need to be out speaking to customers. We need to make some money.
Yeah.
And actually that pressure drove us to get to here. Engineers Insight isn't just this scrollable newsfeed anymore. It is on from this marketing tool of scrolling on products to this brand of 16 to retirement. And how do we chew in as much value as humanly possible for an engineer?
Yeah.
And we're not on that stage yet. That takes time. It takes development. It takes feedback from the market, what they need. But that's the path that we're now on, because we throw ourselves into it.
Yeah.
We didn't throw ourselves into it blind. We didn't, we weren't 18-year-olds in the basement of mum and dad's house. I had a mortgage.
Yeah.
And my co-founder had a mortgage and two kids. So
it's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah. You can't just go full in. You have to have some sort of plan. You have to have a bit of finance, or at least a buffer.
Yeah, to allow for that gap.
Yeah. Yeah, we thought we'd just go on Dragon's Den and raise £1 million.
Did you?
But
yeah.
It's anything. Because in manufacturing, it's a niche.
Yeah.
Like, general investors don't understand it. They might understand AI, deep learning, robots, the buzzword stuff, but they don't understand the need for connection to documents and jobs and training.
But I actually got some quick fire questions.
Go on.
Just to end it with you. So tell me about a time where you've properly cocked up. Because I know what mine is. I basically, when we were building a machine, I ordered not the wrong motor, but I was pretty new to it. and each of these motors was probably worth £5,000. And I got a call, and they said the brake that you've put on it is incorrect, doesn't work with the system. So the drive wasn't picking it up, and they tried converters, everything, so they had to end up buying a new one, which obviously wasn't too bad in the long stream of things because they could send the other one back. But the timeline was it needed to be out the week after, and this motor was on a month lead time. So it was that one, and don't get me wrong, I've made my fair amount of mistakes, but that's probably the biggest one I can think of.
I've made a lot. One that came to mind, I don't know if it's just the embarrassment at the time. I was really young. It's like 19, I'd say. So part of my job at Schneider, application engineer, was going to give training courses on drives.
Yeah.
So I'd go around like the distributors and the salespeople and just go through what a drive is, why we use them, this is what the Schneider looks like. I was going through like frequency to RPM, and like this is the graph, and this is, all the technical stuff that I can't even remember these days. Went away, didn't think anything of it. And then the owner of the branch manager for that distributor called my boss, shouting about me.
Yeah.
Because I just wrote on the actual whiteboard and not the paper, because the paper was all out, but with the permanent marker. So it had ruined this board with these graphs of how to use a drive.
Jesus.
Now, it was like, I don't know how much it cost, 50 quid? Nothing, but they billed us for it. And it was just the embarrassment that.
Yeah, you take it on the chin, haven't you?
Yeah.
So there was a question about how many cups of coffee do you drink a day, but you're on the decaf today.
Yeah, I still drink quite a few, but yeah, I mean, caffeine just gives me a banging headache, so I try to avoid it. The days where I was on the road, 2 or 3 Starbucks, and like by 3-4 o'clock, my eyes are vibrating.
I just can see through walls.
Yeah. So yeah, decaf these days.
What's harder, solving an impossible math problem, or explaining what engineers do at family gatherings?
Yeah, maths problem.
Yeah.
Like what engineers do at family gatherings.
I think now about 4 or 5 of my different families and my friends don't know what I do. I've told them multiple times, but you can tell them what you do, and it goes in one ear, out the other.
Yeah, that's just because they're not interested.
Yeah, Mum thinks I'm an electrician.
Yeah. Well, you could just say, I'm an electrician, but I don't do houses.
That's. I've got to that point where I don't even care. I'll just say yes. They don't bother with machines. I just accept. Yeah, I do houses. That's what I do. Well, thanks very much for your time.